Yes, subscribe. You always dey watch we program them, but you not subscribe yet to the channel. All wetin you get for do, press this red subscribe button and then you come over here and press this bell. To the bell option, press this one with all. E don done. E no get for cost you anything. When you do this, na sign for show say you dey support we for make we do more. Thank you for who you don help me for share this program. Yeah, God bless you.
His Excellency made commitment. One, he promised young people of this country that if at that time they vote for him, he will bring the National Youth Service to conclusion. It's a manifesto commitment, and that one is done and dust. As it is now, you have the National Youth Service up and running. The second one, he promised to make sport very active. And again, I mean, you can see it done and dust. And he promised young people access to finance, the Youth Empowerment Fund. And today you have young people, you have the Munafa Fund, and in the next couple of weeks, you will find out that we'll be piloting the Youth Empowerment Fund, and I'm currently recruiting a consultant to get a strong document for also have the basket fund itself that will give access to innovators, entrepreneurs, and give access to those young people that believe in agriculture. And just a few days ago, I was up country create 10,000 jobs for every young people at chiefdom level. And again, Samuel, if you look at the current investment in agriculture, it's really huge for young people. And His Excellency promised the Chiefdom Youth Farm, and for every chiefdom we are cultivating 100 acres of land, and they'll be providing machinery, provide seeds, provide fertilizer, provide agrochemical. At the end of the day, help them to harvest. For you to cultivate 1 acre of land, it costs about 5.2 million. So if you multiply that by 100, it's about 502 million that His Excellency will be investing for one chiefdom to promote young people in agriculture. They went right across the country. They spent like 3 days in a district. They brought in a clear picture of what is happening across the country. And the report, we name it Youth at Risk. And through the Youth at Risk project platform, we use that document to access the Global Peace Fund of $3 million, which they are currently implementing. So we've got a clear picture of what we want. That gives me the tools, and looking at the manifesto commitments made by His Excellency to young people of this country, because I always tell people that will be the Bible young people will be looking at come next election, and we don't want him giving me the opportunity to serve. At the end of the day, I have all what it takes. I mean, no excuse, I'm one of the few ministers globally that enjoy the privilege I'm enjoying as a Minister of Youth, that have a president that has been in the youth sector and know exactly how to deal with young people. And he himself has been right at the top at a very young age. So he knows exactly what I should deliver. He knows exactly what is expected of me and what we're supposed to do as a nation. So basically, we set up all these structures and we look at, did some financial analysis. You know, you got from the entire report itself. I mean, it's something to write home about. Corruption has been one of the things we've been celebrating in this country.
Right.
And one thing I know, even institutional trust was no longer there, and leadership trust was no longer there. So I needed to build that kind of thing that every young person say, no, there is difference between the past and the present. Because I know very well you've got a lot of youth ministers before my arrival, and I'm here today. I will not be the last, others will be coming. But I ask myself, what is the mission here that I need to push? The project is for me to see that people should know the difference of the past and the present and those that will be coming. And there is this saying I always believe, wherever you find yourself at the moment, it's good to say, if that guy, it's good that he's here at that time, and it's not good to say it's good that he left.
I'm curious, talking about youth ministers who've been in that seat. I've spoken to a lot of youth activists, even critical journalists, and they've mentioned that what you've been able, the sanity you've been able to enjoy at the youth ministry in the last 10 years or so, that sanity was never there. You've had that in that particular ministry, the minister and deputy would always be at loggerheads, who is in charge, who can actually do it. So how were you able to actually manage in the last 3 years? We've never seen issues of fighting between you and your deputy or any form of negative scandal coming from that ministry within people.
It has to do the leadership. And I'll tell you one thing. For any time I sit with my boss, the president, for every minute, it's like giving you vaccine or charge you for the next 1 or 2 years. He always puts you on your toes, and the age has nothing to do with your job. It's about performance and what you it's about performance and what you owe to young people of this country. And like you said, if people are thinking that myself and my deputy will have challenges, you must ask why at that time the minister and the deputy always get challenges, always battling the ministry, the commission, and other stakeholders. I mean, it's no secret. It has to do materiality,
right?
Material things, and we are not. Politics should not be a way as people are looking at it. Being a politician, being a minister, you're like a servant, and you answerable to everything. You're supposed to disclose. When you put things on the table, if you receive 1,000 leons today, and again, it has to do with the standard SOPs, the practice that you got in the ministry. For you to get 1,000 leons, to withdraw 1,000 leons from any ministry account, you have like 7 people to approve for you to get that. You have the project manager, the accountant, the field manager, the project manager, the director of youth, the permanent secretary, my deputy, and my very self. So you have no reason to comply at the end of the day. If you have a minister that can withdraw 50 checks of 50 million each, instructing a bank to pay on just on a B signatory, I wonder how can you don't use public money that way, and you don't even have the mandate to instruct a bank to pay on an account which you are not signatory to. I'm once a banker, so to say the reason for the sanity is about trust and sincerity, transparency and accountability, and this has been the foundation. This has been the pillar that we set, and these are the things we challenge ourselves. I challenge my entire crew. The Youth Commissioner, the National Youth Service, will have our heads of meetings. And most times I tell them, we are here today, we are still not yet there where we want to go, but I know we need to lay the foundation that every young person should be proud of us as young people sharing the affairs of others, and we'll build institutional trust.
Let's talk about this trust, this issue of transparency and accountability. The Auditor General has been giving out, has been publishing reports, naming ministries that have been defaulting. And the Youth Ministry came out clearly that under your leadership, you were able to account for almost everything. So what are the secrets? What are the things were you able to put in place to ensure transparency and accountability are at the heart of what you do, to the admiration of even the president, your boss?
It's about teamwork. It's about teamwork and accepting accepting the mission that we have. That is to say, based on my experience, I've got like 7 years to 8 years coming from, I've worked for 3 multinational companies, and the structures we put, and it's about the motive of you holding public office again. And I know very well when you do things the right way, you decide to put things on the table, you decided to let people know, you have little or no reason to question at the end of the day. Like you make mention of the audit report. I'm the first Minister of Youth that has invited the Auditor General to give an opinion, because you always need a third opinion
Right.
of the way you do things. It's not that there are no challenges. There are reports that, but these are just minor ones that has to do with administration, basic administration things that we're supposed to do. So, for instance, if I'm to procure a cup, you know very well you have 7 people to sign for that cup, like I just mentioned initially. Then, when the auditor picked up that request, he knows very well, tell me if you want to steal 1,000 leons, you have 7 people to convince. At the end of the day, you decide, might as well say, why should I? So in terms of accountability and transparency, something I got from the banking sector, the institution that I've worked for, and just building standard SOPs. And again, I'm given the opportunity to serve, to change the narrative. And young people voted for His Excellency President Bill. They asked for change, and people should see that change. So there we go. You look at the past, you ask, what have you done? What have you done in the past? What are we doing now? And you compare the past. So young people need to see that kind of change come 23 or 24. So that's the target. I always ask myself, and His Excellency always asks, you need a legacy theory. You need to have something that you point at that they'll remember you back in those days. Say, for instance, when he was head of state, of Sierra Leone, they'll tell you somebody that when he says A, he believes in A, and he'll go for it. So that kind of trust is good for every leader. And honesty leadership is also key.
Right.
I mean, you don't just act. Don't have little or no reason to pretend or act. Be yourself, know what you want, and go for it.
Let's look at the impact of all of these policies, these standards you've set in the Ministry of Youth. And in terms of corruption, for example, you mentioned the issue of corruption earlier. The previous holders of that office, of course, we've seen where they've been named. One of them had agreed to even pay back some money to the ACC based on corruption practices. And now you've set these standards. For every cent we've seen, even disbursements to the youth councils across, they've always been published. What are the impacts of all of these policies to the youth sector? How are they benefiting the youth you represent?
Youth leadership at every facet of every knock and kind of this country is really key. And building the trust, when you talk about trust, it's something that you earn, it's something that you work on. It's not something that you can just jump into overnight. And again, like you rightly mentioned, it's about the leadership again. And you can't serve as Attorney General, Minister of Justice, and it trivializes the work of the Auditor General. The Auditor General is there to give a third opinion about what you're doing. Auditor General, to me, as an auditor and as an accountant, you have an internal auditor that you work with that puts controls, operational practice. And you always need a third party to give an opinion to guide you about what you're doing and what you do not supposed to do. Imagine if they've been auditing the Ministry of Youth for the past 7 or 8 years. Then today there will be no queries about basic administrative challenges, because we'll have those reports, you go through those reports, and you guide yourself out to do things. So when you talk about transparency and accountability and the way we'll be managing the sector, you will need to create leadership. I refer to those leaders as ministers of youth at village level, at district, at chiefdom level, district level, and at national level. I'm sitting very close to the president in cabinet, And if you want to go to a district, again, there should be a youth leader. And what we've done again in that direction is to ensure that we have young people represented in every district council. Across the country, because in terms of decentralization, you want to see when you transfer projects, when you transfer money in shared districts, you want somebody to take responsibility. And when you transfer liability, you transfer the asset itself. At the end of the day, they take ownership of whatever they are implementing, and they liquidate on time, and you keep your books clean.
So let's talk about the different projects you've been implementing in terms of job creation and skills development. And very recently, I witnessed one where young people, even university students, were very, very much happy submitting themselves to go through skills training. under the World Bank funded skills development project being implemented by the government of Sierra Leone. So what are some of these projects you've undertaken to ensure that the youth are capacitated and empowered for the future?
Yeah, that takes me back to the manifesto commitment His Excellency made to young people of this country. Page 43 of that manifesto gives you a clear situation and analysis of young people of this country. You realize you have young people in Sierra Leone that believes that they just want to get their daily bread and move on. You have another set of young people that believe that they need to learn skills for them to be capacitated. And you have another set of young people that believes they need to be provided job experience after graduation from university. And you have another set of young people that need to be capacitated and make access to finance for those young entrepreneurs. And you have another set of young people that believes in agriculture. And that has been one of our flagship programs that we believe that can bring a shock in the job market. But by and large, the entire situation itself, government is not there to provide job for every young Sierra Leonean. What we are doing as a government is to create the enabling environment where you can have private sector investing in this country and you get more jobs. Right. So back to my experience as an accountant, 2010 to 2014, when I was working at the extractive industry, you find out that you see plumbers coming from Australia, Romania, South Africa, Ghana. You have masoners. These are jobs we can do. Right. But at the end of the day, go back to the TRC report. It gives you a clear picture that those miners we are trained after the war. They trained them, but they never certified them. So there's no way you can you meet an employer and say, oh, I'm a very good plumber. They'll ask, where is the certificate? So when I was blessed with the opportunity to serve by His Excellency the President, I just look at my experience that I've got and the challenges that I faced when I was down there, and just decided to put structures that will help in that. So back to the manifesto. So that gives us a clear situation analysis, after which His Excellency made commitment. One, he promised young people of this country that if at that time they vote for him, he will bring the National Youth Service to conclusion. It's a manifesto commitment, and that one is done and dust. As it is now, you have the National Youth Service up and running. The second one, he promised to make sport very active. And again, I mean, you can see it's done and dust. And he promised young people access to finance, the Youth Empowerment Fund. And today you have young people, you have the Munafa Fund, and in the next couple of weeks, you will find out that we'll be piloting the Youth Empowerment Fund, and I'm currently recruiting a consultant to get a clear, strong document for also have the basket fund itself that will give access to innovators, entrepreneurs, and give access to those young people that believe in agriculture. And just a few days ago, I was up country create 10,000 jobs for every young people at chiefdom level. And again, Samuel, if you look at the current investment in agriculture, it's really huge for young people. And His Excellency promised the Chiefdom Youth Farm, and for every chiefdom we are cultivating 100 acres of land, and they'll be providing machinery, provide seeds, provide fertilizer, provide agrochemical. At the end of the day, help them to harvest. For you to cultivate 1 acre of land, it costs about 5.2 million. So if you multiply that by 100, it's about 502 million that His Excellency will be investing for one chiefdom to promote young people in agriculture. And that notwithstanding, that's just one. You have the National Youth Service. You have young people that we are currently training, hands-on training on, you heard about the Bandajuma project under the National Youth Commission. And thanks to the commissioner, is one person that I know has been right on top of it. You have the National Youth Service. And the Bandajuma project is a hands-on training on plumbing, steel bending, electrical, driving heavy equipment. And again, we have another project that we're implementing with IM that we're pushing. You have 200 young people now that are trained how to use farm equipment and tractors. I mean, after that, imagine we're focusing on agriculture. These are jobs available. You mentioned the World Bank project. These are hands-on training. I mean, gone are those days, like I said, we've been celebrating mediocrity over excellence. And that has been the challenge we're facing as a society. And we need to change the narrative. And young people voted for change. And that's what we're pushing.
Yes, subscribe. You always dey watch we program them, but you not subscribe yet to the channel. All wetin you get for do, press this red subscribe button, and then you come over here and press this bell. To the bell option, press this one with all. E don done. E no get for cost you anything. When you do this, na sign for show say you dey support we for make we do more. Thank you for wey you don help we for share this program. Yeah! God bless you.
So let's go to the Youth in Fishing project. As at now, I know 70 boats were issued out. How many young people, how many youth benefited from that particular project when it was launched by the president?
The direct beneficiaries of that project, direct beneficiaries 1,400, and we know it's not enough. I've just sent another request to the Minister of Finance to see reason why we can have more 100. And trust me, it's really doing well. Samuel, it will surprise you to know that young people are paying.
Wow.
It all has to do. So I'm still looking for one Sierra Leonean that do not want to be successful in life. They've all tried. But along the line, there are misfortunes that you have no control about. We had the war, we had mudslide, we had Ebola, and now we had COVID. It's not everybody that has what it takes to withstand those challenges. But to me, it's up to us as a government. We provide the enabling environment, encourage them, and they should have a role model to hold position of trust. You don't just bring everybody that maybe first job experience, you want to build a house, you want to be rich. No. How much do you need? How much do you need? So that kind of trust is what we're pushing. Young people, like the Youth in Fishing project that you rightly mentioned, Samuel, is doing well, and thanks to His Excellency again. You see, in that day, on that day, he decided that let me give them 50% cutoff. Pay 50%, we'll take the other 50%. That alone has provided 1,400 household like a bread and butter. Yeah, and now they've paid. If that boat cost, imagine the previous boat we are constructed, just the boat and just machine for over 15 billion. I did mine for about 5 point something billion. Yeah, and just that gap. I hope the Minister of Finance is watching to see the difference and see reason, perhaps 15 billion, 5.4 billion. Give me the balance, yeah, so that I'll do more boats for young people. You know, and it's one person that has been very, very supportive. And I'll tell you, I'm enjoying the leadership of my boss, because for any point in time, it talks about patriotism, nationalism, keep your eye on the ball. Don't allow yourself to be distracted. And that's what I've been enjoying, Samuel.
There is this challenge with the National Youth Service, because many students who attend other colleges or universities, maybe get diplomas and all of that, they tend not to benefit from the youth service, because it caters just for graduates from the university. So how inclusive can that get for other people, for other students who would graduate with just diploma and benefit from the initiative?
Yeah, the National Youth Service is one project that we inherited at the stage where they just have an act of parliament, no structures. You only have 2 staff. When we started the National Youth Service, it surprised you to know that I was serving as an accountant, budget man, project man, and later bring in the current National Executive Director for National Youth Service, and we later set up the structures. So the act is very specific that it's only meant for graduates.
Right.
And I've sent a team, including the Parliamentary Committee on Youth, Honorable Abdul of the All People's Congress. I sent Honorable Abdul the Executive Director, and my Deputy Minister to Kenya, Ghana, Rwanda, for them to give me a clear picture of what is happening. And because the current model we are using is the Nigerian model that
Right.
focuses on patriotism, nationalism, how we can interchange young people from this region to another region is the current model that we are using now. But when you look at the Kenyan model and the Ghanaian model, it's more of job creation. So putting the two together, and it gives us a more solid document. We are currently recruiting. If you watch the newspapers today, you'll find out that we are currently at the verge of recruiting a consultant to have a national apprenticeship program that will be under the National Youth Service. And I've secured cabinet approval to review the act so that you have undergrad, those with certificates,
Right.
those that do not even go to school, but they've got this expertise to join the National Youth Service also. And the reason being is that you have these young people, they've got all this. Some are to renovate a government building, you have quarters, you have government buildings up country that you need to renovate. So if you have these young people that will be in the National Youth Service, and after which 1 year government will pay them, train them, they do hands-on training, do this job, it will make the necessary impact. The National Youth Service itself has been the dream of Samuel Timagai. Nigeria came and took the idea from Sierra Leone. The principle, then we've not started. But we started it 2018. And when I started the National Youth Service 2018, a partner challenged me, UNFPA to be specific,
Right.
that we've been in this for how many years, God knows when, and I mean, it doesn't work. People don't move. I said, no, I'll challenge you in 3 months. I'll bring the National Youth Service because my boss promised to bring the National Youth Service up and running. And today it's up and running. And I'm pleased to inform you, Samuel, that the Ministry of Youth has been declared one of the safest ministries to invest today by partners.
Right.
It's because we know we owe our generation, and we want to see more young people in cabinet. I want to see that so that you have the more singers, you have more Timothy Kaba, and we are not challenging, but the way we perform, the way we do things, His Excellency the President will bring in more young people, and people will see reason why we should put more young people in position of trust, responsible young people in position of trust.
Let's talk about job creation. The Ministry of Higher and Technical Education is currently implementing a project, the TVET project, creating and building technical institutions in different parts of the country to enable young people to acquire skills that would better place them in society for jobs. How far is that project, and how involved is the Ministry of Youth?
Yeah, I'm part of the steering committee. As a sector, because the Commissioner Golo Kata is part of that steering committee. Because what we believe and what we should do here is to have a technical vocational training center in each and every district, and that's His Excellency promise. And the process is ongoing. We have TVET centers in some districts that they've upgraded and they currently funding. And GIZ is doing. There is one in Kabbalah that I know of, and they are upgrading those are the existing ones, and they are currently trying to construct other ones that for those districts that do not have at all. Like for Tonkololo in my district, and it's the biggest district, by the way. They're trying to get government trade center, USA, EBK University now, upgrading, moving towards that angle. Because someone, if you're educated, you get your degree from university, and your degree couldn't provide job for you, then you might as well say, why do I spend 8 years or 4 years in university? Why can't you do something that will give you job at the end of the day? It's not that jobs are not available. You have jobs, but trust me, you do not have people to fit in that capacity.
So does that mean the two ministries are collaborating on even the things, the skills young people will be trained on to fit in the availability of these jobs?
Yeah, when you talk about young Ministry of Youth Affairs, it's a cost cutting.
Right.
I have a position in the Ministry of Agriculture. I have one in the Ministry of Health. I have another one in TVET. It's every ministry is dealing with
young people.
the Ministry of Youth Affairs. Say, for instance, even Ministry of Trade, and now you have about 5 or 6 big companies, private companies in operations. That has created jobs for over 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 young people. And you heard about the mining sector, the young man sitting there against Timothy Kaba. Kihon has created about 1,000, 5,000 jobs And hopefully, by the time you know other mining companies, big mining companies, they launch the other one in Diang, you have all these mining companies. If they've been in existence during the past, that would have been a shock. But one thing you need to know here is that we've missed a lot for far too long. So now you can see the impact now, Saban. And what we've enjoyed under this government as young people is that the access to education, free quality education. Samuel, you and I know 2016, it was, it's not a secret. It was on BBC, it was all over the media houses that 4 school pupils used 1 question paper to take public exams, NPSC. And today, it's a thing of the past. In fact, you can't even go closer to your colleague when you're taking public exams. So imagine if we have done that back in those days. Access to education is key. And most times we compare ourselves to Kenya, Rwanda, Ghana, but they've got it right long ago. If you can read between dash and dot, if you have what it takes to know the difference between what is good and bad, trust me, you will choose your path very well. And say, for instance, there's this competition going on. It ended on the 31st, Tony Elumelu Foundation. It's creating 10,000 jobs for Africans. It's surprising to know that I think Fabian Sui happens to be
benefited
one of those beneficiaries. You have Ghanaians like 100, 200 on annual basis. So if you compare, if you want to compare Sierra Leone to those countries, then let's go for global competition, which is a separate thing. So we want to see how we can build on the human capital development. You have young people know exactly what they want and which angle they should go. Then you can compete globally. But as it is, there's this saying in Creole that people know they travel if you say Mama Sabi cook. Not until you move from your safety gun, you decide to access other information, other areas, there are challenges, there are things you need to put in place. And I always tell people that, to me, I believe the true politicians in this country are not up to 10%. It's about how many lives you touch. Today, you go to areas, like I was in McKinney the other day, we're providing 650 jobs to the youth in agriculture. I told them if we would have provided 650 jobs to the youth in agriculture 10 years ago, today we have how many thousand jobs, then you have something to point at. But it's about legacy and what we are doing. Say, for instance, this car wash, it reduced crime rates big time.
I was just going to ask you about the impact of the Youth in Car Wash project. We've seen where the ministry has structured that particular thing, erected infrastructure for the guys, formalized those guys now into groups. What has been the impact of that project?
It's one thing. It's an opportunity we're creating for young people that believes in who have what we call today for today. I just want to get my daily bread, take care of myself, my family, and move on. And we have those young people that have been marginalized for far too long. Somewhere to surprise you to know that even the laws of this country are not favorable to us as young people. You can drive at 2 a.m. They will not arrest you for loitering. But you can see my boy walking along the streets, and they'll arrest them for loitering. But we're working on that. We have very huge impacts now. At least the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, the Law Reform Commission, and our partner UNDP, through the Youth at Risk project, I asked that we review those documents, and very soon, that will be a thing of the past, because the challenge is that our laws do not provide alternative form of punishment for even minor crimes. So somewhere, if they arrest you today for just default trafficator lights, you either go to prison or you pay 500,000 or both. And if they charge you for both, you might serve the 1 year imprisonment. At the end of the day, you don't have the 500,000. So those are all challenges that has been affecting us as young people. But we want to see how we can. Most times, say for instance, you have an Okada rider or bike riders. To me, I refer to those guys like hustlers like you and I. That'll leave your house at 8 o'clock to get your daily bread. Like as a minister, like you. I respect them because it's a genuine job they're doing. I wish we've created alternative means of survival for them. They will not They will not celebrate bike riding or other things like that. And that's why we're pushing agriculture, we're pushing the private sector, we are pushing TVET. We want to see how Sierra Leoneans could have different alternatives. You can have, most times these taxi guys, one taxi, you have 3 young people driving it. You drive for 6 hours, you give to another person, drive for 6 hours. After that point, the next driver might not have anything at the point the police arresting. Police might ask for 10,000 at that point. You don't have, you just started. They'll take you to police, you go to police, they might ask for 15,000, 20,000 at start, you don't have 10,000. They charge you to court, they ask you to pay 500,000, you don't have 10,000 at start, 500,000. So by the time you know it, you go down. But these are legal hustlers. And when you just come, when you're just from the correctional center, when you come back, society found out you. For all they know, this
Right.
happened already come out.
Right.
So we want to see how we can change that narrative. And just after that point, if you don't have young people from those areas, and later society found out them, they decided to move to do something else. So that's the essence of the car wash. If you go to Fabric College at night or Stand 17, Grafton, you meet them at night, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., you see 10, 50, 100 people. After work, they're still working, others will be there relaxing. To me, that's an achievement, that you have them engaged doing something.
Right. So let's talk about your plans for the years to come. Say the next 2 years. What are the specific plans? How do you hope then now to build on these gains you've made, the policies, these projects you are implementing? How do you hope to build on them going forward?
If it continues to please His Excellency the President, for me to continue to serve as a minister, I know this year will be the best year for me. I've got so much to deliver, and I've set the pace. It's not about funding. Trust me, Ministry, youth sector is not about funding. It's about the impact that we'll make with the mega resources that we have. For this year, you have the 10,000 jobs going on now for agriculture, and we have agro-processing. You have ecotourism under the National Youth Commission. We have the youth entrepreneurship. You have the car wash right across the country equipped. Actually, I received a letter 2 a.m. last night from the UNDP that they were agreed to provide equipment for every car wash across the country.
Right.
It all has to do with trust. And the youth athletics, you have, I don't want to pronounce it, but the Minister of Finance, we're trying to push something for youth, just get something for the female youth. Because for most times, people think when you talk about youth, you're only pushing for the male. That's not the case. We'll have the entrepreneurship. There's a lot going on, but if you look at the in terms of violence, sexual-based violence is one thing that has been affecting us as young people, because most times our female youth have been marginalized. It's good that now we have a platform that you can report. I always engage the Minister of Gender, Honorable Mantitarali, and we've brought the Youth Council, the 191 Chiefdom youth leaders and the district youth leaders in one room. Today they are champions to spread out the message of sexual reproductive health and education. So I've got so much to deliver. If it pleases His Excellency for me to continue to serve as a Minister of Youth for this year, I'll deliver more than I've delivered. Add the 3 years together.
Right. Sorry, I have to take you back. You just mentioned youth and violence. And we've seen a drastic reduction in that in the last 3 years. Young people and violence, It's drastically been reducing. So what are the strategies you've been employing, I mean, as the leader of that sector?
When you talk about violence, I'll tell you, 99% of the violence we face in the past, pocket of violence, I qualify to them as pocket of violence we face, these are violence, physical violence that are perpetrated by members of the opposition, All People's Congress, based on the report we've got and the data that we've got. But knowing very well, they've already, remember the last one at Tombo, they know we've got this fact, we know those that sponsor the act itself, and they know our position on that now. Because nobody wants to be sent to prison. And when you're hopeful, you know exactly politicians cannot take you for a ride. Remember a couple of 1 or 2 years ago when Parliament walked out, when the members of the All People's Congress walked out of Parliament, they called the young guys, stand 17 days, for those guys to join them. They said, but you know, see, tradition will not be busy, but we now get car wash, you get for sit down, government, they come with you, the sit minister will talk. And it's about how you relate with your people. Trust me, if you ask them now, you want to do anything crazy on that end, trust me, I will know. And when I know, we inform the rights authorities. So it's difficult, very difficult now. Just, you had about click in those days, you have this gang, you have this, that. I have challenges on managing that in terms of substance abuse.
Right.
Yeah. But substance abuse itself is not, it's not. Looking at the youth bulge, you have more young people now than ever before. I mean, these are things that we are fixing. And it's about trust and confidence in the system, status quo. If you believe in that, you've seen Mr. X now, he has access to finance, the Munafa fund, the car wash is doing unwell, and some of these guys are paid more than 1 million, stand 17. They collected, most times they get over 30-something million. If they divide it by 600,000, you have over 40, 50, 70 young people being paid out of what they are collecting. And they know their lives are assured. They've got that kind of assurance that you are here and government really cares. It's about how much you reach out to them, how much they feel like I'm part of it. And that's what I've been enjoying with my team. I always tell them, we are servants. Being a servant, go back to Saudi Arabia, when they say you're a servant, we're referred to as public servants. So we owe this to our people. And you engage them. You let them know that all is not lost. We know you lost your mom during Ebola. We know you lost your parents during the war. We know you lost your close relative, your family member during the current status quo. But I don't have a mom, I don't have a dad too, but yet I work towards what I want. And you have that, you have what it takes for you to achieve what you want. Develop the tribe, the challenge that you're facing, work towards that. That should not stop you from gaining what you want to achieve.
As we round up this conversation, one tool that many young people admire about you has to do with you sharing your own personal stories with them to understand that no matter what you go through, you have the power in your hands to create the change and make yourself who you want to be. What led you to using that strategy to informing young people, telling them about your own story and inspire them?
It's about resilience. Most times young people think when you lost your family, you've lost everything. And most times young people feel people owe them. And most times young people feel politicians owe them. I tell them, look, the only person, the only individual that owes you on this world is your parents, your mom and your dad. No politician, it's up to you. You should have the passion to succeed. And my story, the way I help myself, I'm a self-made. To where I am today, my story is not different from the 80% or 90% of Sierra Leoneans that are facing challenges today. It's about self-esteem. It's about celebrating those norms that we won't celebrate as Sierra Leoneans. That how many young people that believe that education is the way out, and despite that, how many young people really show respect to those stakeholders in society, and how many young people really celebrate people that you think, yes, these are the role models in society. And when I talk about role model, it's not those people, those people we used to celebrate that, oh, bribe a body, you have money in your bag, and all. So the reason why I always share my story with them is for them to know that your situation you find yourself today, the Minister of Youth has been there. If you talk about poverty, I've seen the extreme side of poverty. Most times when I go, I'm in my broker for weekend. I have friends, classmates, brothers that when I go there for weekend, we share food, we discuss. I always tell friends that will be around, see, this not be my classmate. But today, it's not because he doesn't want to really speak, but we have a lot of things that militated against him not to achieve what he wants to, and most times they can say, quote unquote, it takes to heart. You know, it takes to heart. And I always share my story with them for them to know that all is not lost. You still have a chance under the current dispensation. under the current president. And we believe if Sierra Leone is to exist for the next 5 million years, they will say their best moments are the days when you have a former military man that took oath as a military to save this country, took oath as an head of state to save this country, took oath as another head of state serving now, and maybe we'll take 1, 2, 3 more oaths. So it's about you knowing your position. And by the way, even the president, a young man from Team, went through a lot. So most times it's about, what will you tell me? Oh, team owner, which you don't do. What have you done with your life? My first address in Bo happens to be Tobu Market. I'll share that again. Yes, tailor shop. I was selling soap. Even at that time, you have even soap, you have Topiclear, you have white. I know after school, you have this women selling fish. You go there, you sell soap. You have your lunch, but you have a focus. Your head focus. You know, after which you work in a bakery, getting 40,000 per day. You should not be distracted. But if you just receive 1 million, you want to drive a phone, you want to have an iPhone, and like you've seen your colleagues drive an iPhone, tell them, I beat my first house, second house, third house without a vehicle. Because I know I want to secure, like, now I'm serving, outside I don't want anything. I'm just serving. So, and that has been the and humility, you don't get wrong with it.
Right.
Humility, respect for elders, respect for everybody, including women. You don't go wrong with that, Samuel.
Right. Let me ask you this final question, perhaps on a lighter note. The sector you lead is a very challenging sector, and that sector constitutes majority of the population of Sierra Leone, the young people. How often do you have time to eat? How often do you have time to see? I mean, to just live with family and forget this stress. Is that possible?
Yes. I'm blessed with a wife of a politician. So she knows very well what her mom, Honorable Bernard Lai, happens to be my mother-in-law. And she knows very well how is it like when you have parents that are politicians. So she understands that I always tell her there's time to rest. And by the time I'm 60, I will not be doing anything rather than just
being with her.
But now I'm serving, and I'm given the opportunity to serve, and I want to make the impact. I want to make the change. It's only now that I have the energy. I can drive for 12, 14 hours a day. When my driver get tired, I say, okay, let me help you. I can reach out to 5, 6 districts a day. It's because I know I have the energy now, and I owe that to my generation. Maybe what I went through for the past couple of years, it's a way to tell me that one day this day will come, and when that day come, I need to prove that I've got something to point at, and it's a way paying back to society. I'll tell you, I'll spend the rest of my life not as a close relative or family member helped me. Different people that has no connection with Oman made my life. So if that's the case, I need to help different people again that have no connection with by serving diligently and giving your all to what we are doing, and have passion for what you're doing, and have passion to serve young people. And my team has got that too. The commissioner, Honorable Golokata, Emasi Lamina, Onana Jallo, I always tell them, I always talk to them, give them the radical thing in there. I mean positive radicalism, that's my man. This is our time that we need to live. We need to make the necessary impact. We have no excuse. They will tell you I don't take no for an answer. If I say go do X, we want this. Sometimes I wake up at 3, 4 just to check and do things. But I still have my private life to live, which I'm also moving towards, man. Yes.
Right. So finally, what message would you want to send out to those young people who are watching and listening to this conversation right now, as a form of motivating them and let them understand that you're going to continue to assure them of being there and look after their interests?
My assurance to them here is this: all is not lost. Perhaps you've not been opportune during the past to be educated, to get education, formal education, and you've not been opportune to be listening to, and you've not been opportune, you think Your parents do not care about you. I mean, nobody should care about you. If they do, then that's fine. But know that your destiny is not in the hands of any politician or anybody else. Your destiny is in your hand. And you should have that passion to succeed.
Right.
And you should not depend on people to change your story. You should be writing your story. And people are there writing your story. Trust me, I'll tell them that if you're doing X, perhaps you think nobody knows about it. But people are right at the corner doing things. Writing your CV, writing what you're doing. And there'll come a time they'll remind you, you messed up from this point to this point. So be conscious of that. So my message to them is to be very hopeful, and we still have a chance, and the only chance we have now is to have the current president in position of as president, and knowing very well he cares about which region he came from, which tribe he belongs to, and it creates the enabling environment for every young person to be able to reach his or her potential. And we owe it to our current generation that we need to change. We can't continue doing the same things and expect different results. If you think people should come to your aid and you expect so much, I always tell people, I'm expecting less from, even when I was in university, when I'm going to my aunt or relative or friend, I expect less. I'll say, well, good come, when you have more, that will be a bonus. But, you know, keep yourself and take care of yourself and believe in what you're doing. Find something to do, hold on to that, and tie that to your future. And the passion to succeed is really key. And don't celebrate mediocrity. You have the energy now. Being a youth is not permanent, like, say, I'm a female. A youth has got time frame. After 35, they'll look at you, I'll look at that big man. By 50, 60, look at that power. So you need to make use of the current energy you've got. Now you have all the good angels favoring you, the good things favoring you. You can work for 6, 7, 8 hours, but it's now that you have the time to work and you make the necessary impact for that time that you will not get that energy. I always tell people they always take care of you 2 times in your lifetime, when you're young and when you're old. And within that pace, you need to make the provision for when you're old for you to be well taken care of.
Right. Thank you very much, Minister of Youth Affairs, Mohammed Omar Bangura. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samuel.
Right, and there you have it from the Minister of Youth Affairs. We've gone through almost all of the 3 years had with him as Minister of Youth Affairs, and he has given his plans for the next 2 years if given the opportunity by the President to continue serving in that capacity. The show has been The Interview, and a repeat of the show comes up on Friday at 11 p.m. Until we meet again, I've been your host, Samuel Wise Bangura. Take care of yourself.